I have a job. And he was like, no, you go get tomorrow or Monday, go to university and apply and figure out something there. I was literally running what we would call back then a portfolio of accounts. You just can't do your job. You have to be engaged and active in other areas.
Okay. Welcome to the Red Couch, and my very special guest today on the Red Couch is none other than Paul Ashby. He is the CEO of SigniaGlobe Financial. He's also a past president of the Rotary Club of Barbados. He's also a big carnival and crop over man too as well. But we'll get into a little bit about that. But we want to find out a little bit more about Paul, the person today. So welcome, Paul, to the Red Couch. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Vic. Really pleased to be here. Excited to be here to have this conversation with you.
You know, a lot of times we know about the public persona. We know this person is the head of this or the president of that and so on. And for years you may see and hear this person in the public domain, but we don't actually know. If you ask somebody, but tell me a little, what do you know about this? Sometimes they can't even tell you if the person is married or have a family, and so on. So today we hope to find out a little bit about you. And I want to go back to early childhood, because that's where it all started, and that's where we are molded in terms of our parents and our upbringing and our experiences and so on. So tell me a little bit about your early life as a young boy growing up in Barbados.
Yeah, very interesting story. So maybe a typical Caribbean story, but I wasn't raised by my parents. I was raised by my great aunt, which would be my mother's aunt in this case. And the story, as I've been told, my cousin, who was my great aunt's last daughter, she's 10 years my senior. They went to my mother's house to see me as a baby, and they said, he's such a sweet little baby. Tiki not only suffer, because my mother probably wasn't in a circumstance at that time that she could, they didn't feel she could raise a child. So from a year and a half old, I was raised by my great aunt. And her children, more or less, because most of them would have been adult or young adults at least. She had 6 children. So the thing is that I think it was a fortunate thing for me, because when I consider the opportunities that I had compared to my other siblings, who my mother also had, subsequent, my mother's oldest child, they did fine enough in life as well, but I think I had a lot more opportunities because of those circumstances.
So you're the first in the family?
Yeah, I'm the first of my mother's children.
How many siblings?
So my mother had 4 children. One is passed now. As a matter of fact, one would have passed actually as a child, but my sister, who would have been second after me, she died a couple of years back. And then I have 2 brothers who are alive now. And one resides in England and the other one resides here. And they do well, in life as well. So I'm happy for that. But, we've reflected on it, and clearly, yes, I did have opportunities that they would not have had as children, just because of, I guess, my circumstances. So I'm really grateful, and I've always been grateful for that to the family that raised me. And I lived there until I became a married man, actually. Wow. in their household.
So what you have just said there to me underscores 2 things. One, that many of us who have been successful in life, in however you want to measure it, but we have been successful in achieving certain goals. We were heavily influenced by family.
Absolutely.
And secondly, what came through to me is that we all have humble beginnings. And that is a story that most people in Barbados can relate to, that we start humbly, but we are not judged by the basis of where we started, because where we start is an accident of life, but really what we do with the opportunities that we have.
I'll tell you that, it's influenced me so much, because when you are raised in another household, you also have this desire for independence as well, because you figure, look, I can't be on these, folks, burden them for the rest of their life. I mean, they will get older and so on. So, it also in the back of your mind drives you to say, look, I need to go and do something to figure out how I'm going to earn for myself and so on. So what that does, though, it drives you into thinking that you need to go and work very quickly. So when I was a teenager and I'd gone to community college, I didn't have the notion of even going to a university at that time. And that's actually a very interesting story for me too, because I had a lot of friends so I went to the law school, but I had a lot of my friends who went to Harrison College. Just a weird coincidence, or maybe not so much of a coincidence, just happened that way.
But two good schools.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
two great
I agree.
schools.
So on one occasion, just like when we were leaving school, I then went straight from community college to my first real job, which was CIBC, a bank. And that summer, my friends, we were hanging at a friend's house. It so happens to be Sir Frank Allen, who's just passed, who's just married. So we were there talking, and they were talking about all the universities they're going to and so on. I'm in the corner chilling out, drinking my drink or whatever. And Sir Frank looks at me and says, "So what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm working. I'm good, man. I have a job." And he was like, "No, you get tomorrow or Monday, go to university and apply and figure out something there." And it was the first time in my consciousness that I thought I would need to do that actually. But it was a brilliant piece of advice, which was, and today I think about that because sometimes you have to sort of get guidance from other places as well, and that was useful for me in sort of moving to another space in my life.
When we look at today's youth, Paul, there are some who are very focused and very guided,
Yeah.
but I always feel that when you see the waywardness or we see young people being derailed, that if you just step back to the family structure and the environment, that perhaps a lot of the answers for the challenges that we face exist therein.
As you know, we're Rotarians together, and we're doing some really fantastic projects at different levels interacting with the youth. So we have the Model United Nations. Those are the students they're on the path. They're really smart kids. They probably come from really solid backgrounds in most cases and so on. They're doing well. We're doing a great project with them. They're exposing themselves to international. We have another project, Youth Elevation Scheme, and these are students again who they are right at that cusp, right? They have some really good talents and skills, but they may not have all the guidance. So they're in the Juvenile Liaison Scheme, and that's the group that I actually interact with a lot because I feel like right at this moment, if you interject with them, you could probably provide them an opportunity to go in the right direction, to use that language. And we see that we could see their growth over time. They get confident, because we do a number of training sessions with them on Saturday mornings in conjunction with the police force and so on, police service. And I really enjoy seeing those students grow. And we may say that they're challenged and so on, but just that their energies aren't focused in the right way. So great opportunity to help in that regard, because I know that, potentially I could have been, I don't know where I could have been if I didn't have those opportunities for people to guide me. And so I think we have that, I would say, responsibility. And if we do get the opportunity to do it, we should actually guide those students as well.
Let's talk a little bit about work. You have been in the financial sector for a long time. You're now at the pinnacle of your career as the head of really one of the largest financial non-banking institutions in Barbados, and a very successful one too as well. Tell us a little bit about your path and your career. Take a lot of pride in this one. So I actually I wrote down many years ago, I went to this training course. I was a member of Junior Chamber before Rotary JCs. And I wrote down that one day I want to either run a business or own a business. And so when this opportunity came for me to be the CEO, I was like completely excited about that. But my career started as a teller at CIBC. So the last day I did an exam at community college. The next day I went to work at CIBC back in those days it was a night deposit teller. And that was a great opportunity because it was a small team of people managing a lot of money here. It's like youngsters with so much money around. So first of all, you had to be responsible. You had to take accountability. And I had the good fortune of leading that team because very early, the person who was leading the team at the time,
they migrated. So I was the next most senior person there.
Wow.
And that has happened throughout my career so many times where I just had good fortune to be in the right place at the right time. 2 years after I joined the bank, I then had to resign to go to university full time because I remember I told you
yes.
I'd gone, so I started part time, but you couldn't back in those days go full time. So I went part time for 2 years, and then 2 years after I had to leave this job, and that was a very difficult decision, but it just made sense. But for that duration though, I came back and I worked during summers and so on and Christmas, so I still had some level of income. But when I came back after that, I came back to the bank after I finished university and so on, and came back at a more higher level, worked in corporate banking, which is a good base. So I learned a lot about business and writing business credits and so on. And about 2 years after being in that job, the person who was senior to me, they went to another bank. So now I was literally running what we would call back then a portfolio of accounts. So the new leadership, which came from Canada, they were like, no, we have to change this to sales culture. And I'm doing my day-to-day job as a corporate banker. And they reached out to me and said, you know what? We want you to be our sales and service manager. So at age 28, I had the opportunity to sit around a management table. And I'm telling you, the reason I probably got that job was because of all those things I was doing outside of my job. It had nothing to do with writing corporate credit. And I keep telling that story to say, you just can't do your job. You have to be engaged and active in other areas. So from a very early age, I would say in my career, I had the opportunity to sit at the leadership table with many experienced bankers. And this wasn't just Barbados, this was Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Antigua. So then you had that regional experience as well. So over the years, I just kept getting opportunities within the bank to grow, and it just led to ultimately my last job in the bank before I went to lead SigniaGlobe, and I had that opportunity as well, was a district manager where you were managing the branches. So in that interim, leading up to that, I managed branches, I was a regional marketing manager. There was just so much exposure and experience that it just prepared me for ultimately the job that I do today. So just I would say a storied, almost fortuitous opportunities for me along the way.
Brilliant one too. Paul Ashby, CEO of SigniaGlobe Financial, past president of the Rotary Club of Barbados, a mentor, successful businessman, a mass man too as well, and a promoter and many other things, family man. Thank you very much for being my special guest.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Appreciate it a lot.
Wonderful
Enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.